motivation and turned it into action. I want to talk about our speaker this morning. I met Mony back in 2018 when I was working with the NSA Speakers Academy. And I found out about Mony and what he's doing, and I just think he's an amazing speaker, but he's got an amazing story as well that I think you'll enjoy today. Mony Nop immigrated to the United States having escaped the killing fields of Cambodia with his family at the age of 6. And he became a police officer and served in Livermore for 17 years before retiring and opening his own real estate office in downtown Livermore. He's been very giving back to his community, helping people along. And Mony recently authored the children's book, which I don't know if you can see it here or not, but he has this great book. I'm gonna turn my, oh, never mind. But he's got a great book. You can't see it here in the, there. But anyway, he's authored a children's book, Officer M.N.O.P and Me, How Police Officers Serve the Community on and Off Duty. And among his many accolades, he's received the Good Neighbors Award for both the East Bay and National Association of Realtors and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Legacy Award. So without further ado, give Mony Nop a big Golden Gate Breakfast Club standing ovation.
Well, thank you so much, Tony. I'd like to thank you as well, because a part of my speech has to do with you know, the way you taught it to us in our NSA class. So thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. I must take you back. I'm gonna ask all of you to go back a little bit in my speech. So I'm gonna ask you to go back, but you know, to maybe when you're 5 or 6 years old, and imagine yourself sitting in a small circle, boys and girls at your age, at 5 or 6 years old, and each one of you is holding on to a bowl and a spoon, and you're sitting in a small circle waiting for someone to put some food in the middle so you can begin to eat. You're all so hungry, your stomach is churning, you just couldn't wait, you're salivating, just waiting for someone to put down some food. And someone finally did. So as food was coming in, the food got devoured so quickly that it disappeared right away. So again, you're waiting again for more food to come in. And then finally another adult came to the circle and put the food in the middle. But this time, as the food was about to run out, one of the boys in the group grabbed the rest of the food and dumped it onto his bowl. Another boy in the group decided that he was as hungry as that boy was, jumped up onto this boy, latched onto him and bit him. Blood gushed everywhere. He's bleeding, he's crying. He's waiting for someone to come help him, and no one did. Well, I tell you, that boy was mean. I still bear a 2-inch bite mark on the right side of my chest when I was 5 years old, eating in a mass tent on dirt floor during the Killing Fields of Cambodia, waiting for food, and the food finally came and I got bit as a result of it. And I still remember that memory from when I was about 5 years old. And that's how my life began. I was born in 1972 during the Killing Fields of Cambodia, where 2 million of my people were slaughtered at that time. And I don't know how I survived, but we had to. The first 6 years of my life, we lived in a little shack with 4 stilts above ground, and with no running water, no toothpaste, no toothbrush. I slept on I had a log as my pillow, a rag as my blanket. And we ate everything imaginable. Cats, rats, mice, dogs, iguanas, snakes, horses, whatever, roots, whatever we would get our hands on, that's what we had to do. I'll never forget one day when my brother was so hungry, my dad had slaughtered some mice and rats, and it's all skin, and he seasoned it with salt and pepper and put it on top of the shack that we had, the grass roof hut that we had. And my brother got so hungry that he climbed to the top of the roof, got the mice, the dried mice, eat them raw. And that's how, you know, we had to live, and that's how we had to survive. So in 1978, the Vietnamese people came into our country and invaded Cambodia. And that gave us an opportunity to escape. So at the age of 6.5 years old, I walked from Cambodia to Thailand among bombs going off, people getting shot, dead bodies all over the place. And anyhow, we took several days to get there. We finally got to the border of Thailand, and we crossed the border and registered a camp governed by the United Nations. We lived there for about 4 years, and while we were there, of course, we were given a little bit of ration, but it was never enough, so we had to hunt for our own food. We had to pass all the medical tests, and each—
You have first message 2. Hi there, this last.
Hi there. So we had to pass all these medical tests, and then each time we passed our medical tests, we were given another opportunity to go to a different refugee camps while waiting to get a sponsor from a first world country such as Australia, France, or United States of America. In 1982, we got permission that we found a sponsor in Tempe, Arizona through a church program. But before we did that, they said, you have to go to the Philippines and learn English. So we were placed into the Philippines, and we had to live in the tropical forest for about 9 months, where it was the greatest time of my childhood. I got to learn how to fish. We learned how to, my dad and I made our own wooden gun with an umbrella spoke and our own goggles. We would go to the stream every day for about 4 hours, and we would shoot for fish, shrimp, and eel, and we would find the firewood. We would bring them back home and cook for the family. And at the times, at 9 years old, it was great was that I got to carry a bag of rice at times, and we would climb the mountains and go up in the mountains and trade for rice and for potatoes with the Filipinos up in the mountains. So in 1983, so this is 4 years later now, 1983, at the age of 10 years old, we were given permission to come to the United States of America on July 7, 1983. And we arrived in San Francisco, where we got processed as immigrants. And I'll never forget, because that was the first time in my life that I entered the United States of America, and I was given something for free. I was during the process, and the coldest place during the summertime is in San Francisco. They gave us a jacket, and the jacket had the fake fur around the neck and 3 stripes on the sleeves. And it was one of the greatest things that I ever received in my life. And it was the first gift that I got when I arrived in the United States of America. Several hours later, after we got processed, we were sent to Tempe, Arizona, and July 8, 1983, it was 116 degrees. So didn't need the jacket at all, but got there. It was amazing. We got to the receiving area. We were taken away in a car. It was the first time I've ever been in a car, and the air conditioning was on and whatnot. And we got to the house, and it was amazing. This is the first time in my life and my family's life that our sponsor cooked food for us. And they utilized a whole chicken to feed our family. We've never had that before, because we've always had to split it in 2 or 3 different ways. So this way we could save enough for during the week, because we never had enough ration to be given to us. Slept indoor for the first time in a house with air conditioning. Had a toilet, had toothpaste, toothbrush, and a pillow, and your own blanket. Amazing. Although we slept on the floor that night, but it was still so much better than what we had. So the first week in America was amazing. That we got to go to our first grocery store. I started crying because I've never seen so much food. We went to our first picnic, actually, and my siblings and I ate so much that we had to walk away, sat at a bench, and just start breathing from our mouth, because we were full up to here. Our first day of school, I didn't know what the teacher said to me, but I end up in a girl's bathroom because we had to wash our hands before we go to lunch. And so anyway, I found myself in a girl's bathroom. I ran out, so embarrassed. And then we went to the cafeteria where we were giving food trays and food cups. Well, how do you know in order to eat the fruit cups, I had to have a fork or a spoon, but I didn't know how to say a fork or spoon in English. So I had to look around and try to find it, but I couldn't. So I had to eat the fruit cups with my fingers. The first week in America was another amazing thing, was that we moved into our first apartment complex. And one of our neighbors had a girl's bicycle, a pink one with one pedal. That's how I learned how to ride a bicycle. And the week after, I learned how to ride a bigger bicycle, and my sister and I would go dumpster diving together. We would look for aluminum cans and fruits or vegetables in cans or plates, and whatever we could find, we would bring them back. But more importantly, we want to bring aluminum cans that hasn't been crushed yet. So what we normally do is when we take the aluminum cans back home, I would make my brother and sister scoop the red clay from the backyard and dump them into the can. And I would spray water into it. I would crush it so they would be heavier when I turn them into for money. So we lived in Tempe, Arizona for about a year and came to Stockton, California in 1984. And the reason why was because a lot of Cambodians live in Stockton, and still today is one of the largest Cambodian populations. Also had farmlands there. So because we grew up in the village in a farm, so we knew how to do that. So we moved down to Stockton. Well, my father became, once we arrived, my father became a gambling alcoholic. My mother would go with him. So all my brother and sister and I, there's 5 of us, we had to fend for ourselves. So I find myself learning how to forge my dad's signature at the age of, in 3rd grade, and forge my dad's signature for all school documents until I was 18 years old. And this is where I met my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Charlie Young, whom I still talk to today. In fact, her birthday was on April 1st. She took such an interest in me that allowed me to be, I think part of it allowed me to be exactly where I am today. I won handwriting contests, I won spelling contests, and I won math contests during my first year. I did really, really well in school. So I went to 3rd grade, I went to 4th grade. Because I signed my own paperwork, I said, you know what? I'm gonna skip 5th grade. So I skipped 5th grade. I decided to sign myself in 6th grade. With God's grace, they let me in. Met my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Cardoza. I told my Mrs. Cardoza with my broken English that I was actually older. I didn't tell you this, but when we first arrived in the refugee camps, my father changed our birth date by 4 years. And the reason why is because just in case we had an opportunity to come to a first world country, we would start school at the lower grade, which I did. Well, I told her the story. She went to the principal, and they moved me up to 7th grade. So I spent 2 months in 6th grade, and I went to 7th grade. And they said, "Hey, Mony, if you do really well, we'll put you in 8th grade." 4 months later, I went to 8th grade. So I went to 8th grade for 2 months, and I graduated. So I went through high school. In the summertime, I would spend my time working as a child laborer in the fields with the Mexican Hispanics. I worked all the way to Oregon, and at times I would make, you know, 10 to 20, maybe $30 a day. And that's all I could make, and it was hard work. The greatest lessons of my life was when I picked cucumbers. We would arrive in the farms at about 5:30 in the morning. It was cold. You would normally have long sleeves on. You put on a pair of gloves, and they would give you 2 5-gallon buckets. And what you do is you go through the rows of cucumbers. You pick them as fast as you could, and you dump them to the bucket. Well, after you fill the bucket, you walk them down about a quarter mile away, and you turn them in. You lift them up, you turn them in. After they dump the bucket, they give you a ticket. Each ticket was worth 50 cents. by 1 o'clock usually, I would be so tired, I would just sleep in the rows of the cucumbers. And that's how that's how I spent my time in the summertime. I worked in the summertime, I went back to school, and I graduated. At the age of 16, I wanted to become a police officer. I graduated early, and I started taking my test at the age of 17 to go to the police academy. I couldn't pass the test. I kept trying. I couldn't pass the test. Finally, on the 4th year, I took my test and I passed it by 3 points. I got into the police academy and I became a reserve police officer for the city of Stockton. But the sad part was that right before I graduated, I got accused of a drive-by shooting suspect. So right before my career started, they took my gun and badge away from me for about 6.5 months. I asked to take a lie detector test because I knew I had nothing to do with the drive-by shooting. They wouldn't give it to me. So I said, you know what? Forget it. I start applying to be a police officer in every city that I could imagine. I started at Santa Cruz, I went to Modesto, I went to San Jose, I went to Pleasanton, Antioch. I went everywhere. And during the process, I passed most of the tests that I took. And Antioch PD police department wanted to hire me. So during the hiring process, I had to pass the psychological test and many other tests and the lie detector test. And when I got the chance to take the lie detector test, they asked me about the drive-by shooting. Well, it turned out I had no knowledge of it. They cleared me. So Stockton PD came and took a look at the results and gave my gun and badge back. And then Livermore hired me on December 4th, 1995, the day that changed my entire life and my whole generation, and that of my family, of course. And I did that so I became a police officer and I was very, very proud of it at the best of times. On my 17th year, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna leave my job. I want to do something. I felt like I was just going to work and meeting the status quo, not making a difference in the world. I wanted to change. I want to change the world in 3 ways, which in the last 7 years, I'm doing that. So I wanted to become a children's book author, which I did, and you saw Tony show the copy. I founded 2 nonprofit organizations. One of them is called Rising Young Leaders, and we were about to launch a 40-hour leadership academy this summer for the middle and high school students, but because of what's going on, we had to obviously postpone it. The other nonprofit is called Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance. I met my co-founder in an elevator and shared elevator pitch with each other, and we formed this organization. It is now serving over 380 nonprofit organizations. And then third, and the final piece is that I want to become an inspirational speaker. And I met Tony, I met Michael Soon Lee and introduced me to Tony and to the NSA program, and Patricia, of course. And I've learned so much during the 9 months. I became an speaker as well. So I get to do that as well. So I'm just totally, completely blessed and grateful. And then 2 years ago, while I was in the community, always been in the community, but love helping out, love giving back to our community. In fact, we're known as the Giving Back Realtor. The mayor walked up to me and changed my life. He said, "Would you be my campaign manager?" I'm like, "What?" I said, "You realize that I don't know anything about politics, right?" But I remember what Richard Branson's statement said. He said, "When someone is giving you an opportunity, say yes and figure how to do that shit later." So I did. So I said yes, and I became his campaign manager. And as a result, I became interested in politics. And now I'm going to be running for the mayor of Livermore. So that's what I'm about to do. And one of the other things that I got to do is that in July of last year, I spent 2 days in Washington, and I took a 2-day course on how to run for office. In fact, I became the public policy chair for the Asian Real Estate Association of America, where we have 17,000 members strong, 42 chapters nationwide. I would have led a delegation this May to Washington, D.C. and meet with 150 to 200 members of Congress. And in fact, I was supposed to be interviewing Norman Mineta on the 19th of May and just got canceled last week. I was supposed to be interviewing him on his life and legacy of this great American who grew up in an internment camp, joined the military, and became the longest serving Secretary of Transportation in the history of America, and also served a year and a half as the Secretary of Commerce, and also won the Medal of Freedom from the President Barack Obama, whom I met as well about 4.5 years ago. So that's my life now. I can't wait to do more. I want to do more. I know we could do more. I want to encourage people to do more for each other. I have some plans for us. In fact, if you go to my website, monyformayor.com, you'll see my whole vision. You see the testimonials from different key leaders in the community. You see articles about me in the community. You see my whole campaign team. And there's a couple things on there that's not on there. There's 2 things I want to bring to our community that has never been done. One, I'm going to donate my salary. I'm going to towards children literacy. I think that the greatest gift that anyone can give a child is actually literacy. So I want to start. I would like to ask our community to build mini libraries throughout our community and put books in there. I will reimburse you up to $300 if you were to do one. And the second thing is that you know, being here 37 years now, I've never seen our country so much fractured. We're so fractured right now. It's always about the left or the right. I think it's time to bring people back together. And what I'm about to do in this community is that one of the things I would like to do is I think of Anthony Bourdain of the world. I want to do an event called Breaking Bread, Breaking Barrier. And basically it's a citywide block party where our residents will get permits. And my job as a mayor would be to ask all key leaders from the community, from the nonprofit, from the business, from the church, from the school, from the police department, from the city. We come together, put on our name tag. We just go visit people throughout the day and just shake hands with people and get to know people. I think that's one of the things we need to do in our country. That's my story. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that with you. I appreciate the opportunity so much.
Mony, thank you so much for your story. I mean, that was amazing. I think we can open up for some questions. Are you open for a little Q&A?
Oh, I would love to, yes.
Okay. Now, I think the best way to do this is if you have a question, go ahead and just put it in the group chat and we can read off the questions for Mony. Mary Edwards just said, she said, your story is so inspirational and you will win in Livermore as you already have in life. Thank you for sharing. And then she goes on to talk about a book that she's writing about space and that she wants to be involved with the country and people, unity, peace, and inspiring people too. So your message is resonating with, you know, all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Edward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? I'm just looking at the group chat right now. So if you have a question. Betty, if you want to turn your microphone off, you always have a question.
Hi, thank you. Mony, it is delightful to hear you. I was just starting to type something. You will succeed and you have succeeded. We are so impressed. I am so impressed with what you have done and who you are and the gifts that you give to so many people. 2 things. I met you at the Bay East Association of Realtors installation many years ago, and then you actually came to the Breakfast Club and spoke in person, not on Zoom, many years ago, and you were so inspirational then. I'm actually reading a book called Girl with 7 Names about North Korea and the starvation there of the North Koreans. And have you written, first of all, I'm going to get your book for my 6-year-old who lives in Livermore. But also, have you thought of writing a book in your spare time for adults to really, you know, your story is amazing. Just amazing.
Thank you. Yes. Betty, thank you so much for your kind words. I've thought about that. The next book I will be writing is going to be called Top Cop Nop. My audacious American journey hopefully from immigrant to the first Cambodian mayor in the history of America. No one's ever done it. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yes, I will be writing that. And then there's going to be a 3rd book as well. It's going to be called Welcome to America, Business and Life Lessons to be Successful. So there's a lot of lessons I learned as a result of, you know, growing up so poor.
Mm-hmm.
You have such an interesting story, and we appreciate you sharing it as you are. I mean, that's just we can't even imagine having grown up here. Christopher Weissman is asking if you've ever returned to Cambodia since you've left.
Yes, I have. I went back twice, and I cried each time because one is that, you know, I cried because how fortunate I am to be here in America, to be honest with you. Because when you get there, oh my gosh, I could totally see myself in those kids because I was one of those kids. So poor, so uneducated, and you know, I cry because I'm so grateful for the things that we have here, despite the challenging time that extraordinary time and challenging time that we live in right now. We have so much. Part of it is that I would encourage like each and every one of you to reach out to at least 3 people per day. 3. All you need to do is 3. Talk to 3 people. For me, I just moved to my new home and my new area here. And I got to know so many of my neighbors, as a result of being at home and got to meet them. And I think this is time. It is time to, hopefully it caused a change in us, to see a change in other things. We could get to know our neighbors better, to get to know people so much better. I think by knowing each other, we could do so much more for each other. I think that's time for us to do it. But I've gone back, and it was hard for me because I have so much. I feel so guilty sometimes because we have so much here. But it's just a blessing to be here in America, and I just wish the Cambodian people do well. I don't know if you guys have read, but recently, if you read right now, because of an extraordinary time, the impact to third world countries is going to take them, some areas going to take them 20 to 30 to 40, 50 years back. I just spoke to my tour guide in Cambodia, in fact, a couple of days ago. He said, Mony, there's no one coming to look at the Angkor Wat anymore. It's completely wiped out. It's completely just so quiet. He doesn't have a job. I mean, thinking about that, being a tourist guide, I'm like, wow. So, and it's true. And that's why we have so much here.
Number of people have chimed in saying that they're going to vote for you. So it looks like you've got a lot of goodwill going on.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm curious, what about your sister and your mom and your family?
Thank you for asking. My mother passed away about 5 years ago. And, just so you know, she was the leader in our household, and she was the hustler in our household. In fact, in 1978, 79, when we were walking from Cambodia to Thailand, my mom was an arms dealer at the border, making whatever she had to do in order to feed us. But my mom passed away about 5 years ago, amazing woman. And she only had 6 months of education in her entire life. But when she speaks, she's a great, great leader that everybody listens, especially, you could see that, I saw that in the Cambodian community in Stockton. People just listen.
Bill Buchanan has a question for you. Bill, can you chime in?
Hi, Craig. Yes, I just had a quick question for Mony. First of all, Mony, thanks very much for joining us this morning. It's an inspirational story, obviously, at many levels, personal and professional. By the way, you were going into the law enforcement profession just as I was coming out. I retired in 1996 from the Bureau. So,
well, thank you for your service.
I was going to say, you beat me to it. Thank you for your service. And I just had a question for you based on what happened in Cambodia. If I remember correctly, the Khmer Rouge forced urban residents out of the urban areas to the agricultural areas, and a lot of them died because they didn't know how to grow food or even harvest wildlife or anything like that. What was your situation? Were you in an urban situation? You had to go out into the hinterland? Is that what happened?
No, we were in a village where we own a lot of the land and a lot of farm equipment, and so my family's pretty well known in our area. Although it's we have to move to different areas as well because, in fact, my grandfather was the friends with the king of Champa, which is now mostly Vietnam, but used to be an Islamic country that between Vietnam and Cambodia as well. And so they brought a whole entourage to move our family from one village to another. Otherwise, we would have been killed. And that is one reason. If you go to my website, monyformayor.com, you'll see it. I have 2 headshots of myself as a child. But going back to what you were saying, though, they did take the people from the capital and move them all over. And the reason why is because they want to decipher who's educated and who's not. The one that's educated, they would kill. Yeah. The one that's not educated, they would put and work as farmers, basically, and work for the government or a communist party. And that's what they have to do. So this way, if you don't know anybody else, they would actually put people, the uneducated people, as leaders, made them become leaders, and then would spy on other families. And if there's anything going on at all, they think that the suspicious, they will take the entire family and kill them. And I got to see the SR-21. For those of you who've never got a chance to see it, it's a former high school, 3 stories high, and converted to a torture chamber. I think they killed over 20 torture chamber, and it's incredible to what happened, what they've done to the people there. And I also actually got to walk the site of the Killing Fields itself. It's one of the most peaceful sites I've ever been to. It has a pond there, but what's so eerie was that they didn't excavate the whole entire pond. At the site, where every hole, maybe a 10 by 10, maybe a 10 by 12 hole, there's at least 500 bodies there. There are bones everywhere. I saw jaw bones. I saw teeth coming out of the ground, cloth, and there was literally bones everywhere. It was like nothing you've ever seen. If you get a chance, visit it. It just, it's part of history, and we don't talk enough about it. In fact, if most of you may not read about it, but Nixon secretly bombed Cambodia for 6.5 months before Congress found out about it. So we were there.
Well, hey, I think we need to wrap this up, Mony. But I just wanted to say, Dana had mentioned, she says, Mony, your passion for life after seeing the horrors of your childhood is inspirational. Please tell your story to anyone who will listen. Hopefully in this way, history won't repeat itself and you can help create more compassion in our society. And with that note, Mony, why don't you tell us how we can contact you and give us your website again. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that, that'd be great. And we can wrap things up and let everyone go off to the rest of their day.
Well, thank you. I would love to get your support, of course. Go to monyformayor.com and you'll see my whole life story on there and my whole campaign team. And I thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with all of you. And I wish all of you to be safe and healthy. And please, social distancing, I think it's helping quite a bit. We do live in extraordinary time. The next couple of weeks is gonna make all the difference in the world. I just hope that our numbers will continue to go down and that all of you are safe. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.
Thank you, Mony. You were awesome. All right, everybody, have a great day, okay?
One more thing.
Oh, yeah. Joel, we lost your voice.
Muted. It says I'm muted by the host.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony?
Yeah, hello. Hello.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, just remind everybody that if you'd like to get in touch with me, you have my phone number and you can give me a call. I can do this over the telephone. Would you like to help George and Elmer? They're going to have a rough go like so many other people. Thank you very much. And good news for Alan Garber. Biden has dropped out.
Oh, thank God. I was worried about that.
So is he.
Well,
All right,
we're ready to go now.
Yeah.
Unopposed.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mony. Thank you, Mr. President.
Bye.
Hi,
Thank
good to
you.
see you.
Bye, guys. Good to
Bye.
see you.
Mony, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you, Mony.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Tony.
How do you?
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Let's keep in touch on Zoom soon.
Okay, we'll do that.
Have a great day, you guys. Thank you, Moni.
Moni,
Bye, guys.
Moni, oh, that's
Yes.
her. I don't know
Go
if you
ahead.
can hear me, but I've been a member of ARIA for years now.
Wow.
Yeah, at least 50, whenever it started, a couple of years after, and I know
Yeah.
Alan and John very well.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Betty.
So-
Thank you for being a part of it.
And I'm so glad you're involved in that. It's a great organization.
It's an amazing organization. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Very
you for
good. Right.
everything you do.
Oh, God, I can't wait to do more. Can't wait. So,
Thank you, Moni.
bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Gary.